Welcome, distinguished leaders, esteemed representatives, and honored guests. At this pivotal 16th BRICS Summit, it is a privilege to welcome the UN Secretary-General, Mr. Guterres, whose presence underscores the global importance of our shared objectives. Mr. Secretary-General, the floor is yours.
Mr. President, honored leaders and distinguished delegates, I am deeply honored to be here with you today. The BRICS nations represent nearly half of the world's population, a testament to the enormous influence and responsibility you hold in fostering global cooperation, multilateralism, and innovative solutions to the world's most pressing challenges. Today's summit reflects your enduring commitment to these principles and serves as an essential forum for mobilizing global action. In an increasingly interconnected world, no nation or entity can address global issues in isolation. Now, more than ever, we must act as a unified global family to confront the challenges of our time. Our collective challenges have reached unprecedented proportions. Escalating conflicts destabilize entire regions, while the climate crisis causes drastic changes in weather patterns, biodiversity loss, and resource scarcity. Pollution levels continue to rise, threatening health and livelihoods. Inequality persists across societies, and poverty and hunger claim lives daily. Meanwhile, a looming debt crisis undermines the futures of vulnerable nations, obstructing progress on crucial development goals. Worryingly, fewer than 1/5 of the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, are on track for completion by 2030. Compounding these issues is the lack of fair representation for developing nations in global decision-making bodies, from the UN Security Council to Bretton Woods institutions. The widening digital divide and the lack of guidelines for the ethical use of artificial intelligence further underscore the urgent need for reform. These profound imbalances call for a decisive transformation of our systems and institutions. At the recent UN Summit of the Future, we introduced a blueprint to advance human rights, promote sustainable development, and reinforce multilateralism. This blueprint, known as the Pact for the Future, is an ambitious roadmap emphasizing our collective responsibilities. I would like to highlight 4 key areas of this vision. The first is the urgent need for a more equitable and responsive international financial system. Many vulnerable nations lack the resources and safety nets they need from the current financial system, which remains outdated, inefficient, and fundamentally unfair. The Pact for the Future envisions a financial reform agenda aimed at making the international financial system more accessible and just. This includes proposals for a dedicated SDG stimulus to help nations in debt distress, a significant increase in concessional financing, and a rethinking of lending practices by multilateral development banks to ensure that developing nations can access vital resources. These measures aim to transform the global financial landscape, allowing nations with limited means to make critical investments in infrastructure, health, and education. 2 significant events next year, the Summit on Social Development and the Conference on Financing for Development, will be crucial moments to mobilize global support for these changes. South-South cooperation will also be key to achieving this vision. While it does not replace the commitments of developed nations, it provides an additional avenue for development support, helping nations overcome hurdles on their path to achieving the SDGs. The second major area is climate action. Every country has committed to keeping global temperature rise to no more than 1.5 degrees Celsius. Achieving this goal requires all countries, particularly the G20 nations, to take bold and immediate action to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. With the upcoming COP29, nations have the opportunity and responsibility to submit new climate plans that align with 2035 targets for the 1.5-degree goal. Developed nations must meet their climate finance pledges, especially the goal of doubling adaptation funding for vulnerable countries, and make substantial contributions to the Loss and Damage Fund. The consequences of inaction are dire, and COP29 must deliver a response that is both ambitious and fully committed to averting a climate catastrophe. Technology is the third area of focus. As the world becomes more digitally interconnected, access to technology must be universal. The Global Digital Compact, part of the Pact for the Future, promotes international cooperation to bridge digital divides and supports capacity building in every nation. With the exponential growth of artificial intelligence, it is crucial to establish a global framework for AI governance, one that is inclusive and ensures that all nations can participate in shaping this technology. The Compact outlines a pathway for fostering international collaboration on AI and proposes the creation of an independent international scientific body on AI, as well as a UN-led dialogue on its governance. Additionally, it urges the development of innovative funding mechanisms to help developing countries build their AI capabilities. If managed wisely, technology can be a force for good, creating opportunities for development, education, and healthcare worldwide. However, without equitable access and regulation, it risks deepening inequalities. The final area is peace. Our international peace architecture must evolve to respond to current realities. This includes reforming the UN Security Council to reflect the geopolitical landscape of the 21st century and addressing emerging threats, such as the militarization of space and the proliferation of autonomous weaponry. The Pact for the Future proposes an ambitious disarmament agenda, including the first global nuclear disarmament agreement in more than a decade. Decisive action is needed to prevent the deployment of lethal autonomous weapons, which pose significant ethical and security risks. Furthermore, we must work towards peace in conflict zones across the globe. In Gaza, we urgently need a ceasefire, the unconditional release of hostages, and unrestricted humanitarian access for those in need. Recently, the UN General Assembly reaffirmed its support for a two-state solution, stressing the importance of ending occupation and achieving lasting peace. In Lebanon, adherence to UN Council. Resolution 1701 is essential to prevent further conflict. While in Ukraine, we continue to advocate for a fair resolution grounded in international law and General Assembly resolutions. In Sudan, an end to hostilities and a commitment to sustainable peace are essential for a stable future. These messages were emphasized during the UN General Assembly's high-level session in New York in September. Regrettably, these priorities remain urgent and unresolved. Upholding the principles of the UN Charter, such as sovereignty, territorial integrity, and political independence, is crucial for fostering a stable and just world order. This is the foundation of a multilateral system that truly serves all nations. Excellencies, distinguished guests, the Summit of the Future provided a vision of how multilateralism can be revitalized to support international peace, security, and sustainable development. Our task now is to translate words into meaningful action. With the substantial influence of BRICS, I am confident we can make significant strides toward realizing this vision. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary General, for your impactful words. Here at the UN, we are one large family, united by our shared responsibility to address these profound challenges. As in any family, disagreements, conflicts, and occasional breaches occur, but together we must cultivate an environment of dialogue and cooperation within our shared home. We look forward to close collaboration with the United Nations as we work toward these goals. We will now take a brief intermission before proceeding to a working breakfast. Thank you, everyone.